Wait, and we're live. How you doing, man?
Good, Tom. How are you, man? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just finished another long day of writing stories about magical internet tokens. So
Right.
business as usual.
Imagine it, the magic internet money that everyone loves, or
That's it.
starting to love a lot more recently, anyway.
People are starting to like it a lot more. Um, yeah. What do you see as the main reasons for people starting to like it a lot more?
Oh, I mean, mate, you would probably know more than anyone on the subject, but we've obviously seen the ETF get approved last week. Some pretty decent volumes going through a number of those ETFs, spot ETFs for Bitcoin in the US markets, which is really pretty interesting. And I think I think the narrative is pretty strong at the moment after a pretty shit 2022 for everyone. We battled it out, but we got through. 2023 was obviously, I think a lot of people kind of still tell me that 2023 was a bear market. I think it was a year of building, and it was actually quite a good spring or a momentum shift for the industry in general. I don't know what do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah. No, I keep seeing 2023 be referred to as a bear market. And it's like, well, technically Bitcoin started leading essentially from like January like 5. So from all throughout 2023 and just kind of posted, significant gains over the course of that year. So I guess it wasn't until the very end of the year that people realized like, oh shit, it's actually moving. So I feel like there was a lot of frustrated, sideliners being like,
So
I thought I
yeah,
had more time.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, before we jump into things, man, I'd really like to hear a little bit about you, your background. Episode 2 of NGMI podcast, so still coming fresh.
I feel quite privileged. I'm in the single digits, mate. This is a coming of age, right? I was I was just before we just started recording, I was just mentioning to you that I'd we this is the first time we've actually kind of caught up in person, if you want to call it that, and it's yeah, I was at the Aussie crypto convention, at the end of last year, and I spotted this big bastard across the room, and I was like, I think that's Tom Mitchell Hill. I was on my way to moderate some panels that we had kind of running across the event, but Matt, we finally got there, and yeah, we've
We
managed
did.
to catch up, and here we are. But Matt, I do follow you quite a bit across kind of your Twitter and some of your socials as well. You're big into your fitness, and yeah, trying to take some inspiration myself from that.
Hey.
I've decided to put the grog for to bed for 6 months of the year to kind of start off the year, be fresh, and try and get into some new things and yeah,
That's
start.
fantastic. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not a big drinker anyway. I am Irish, as people are probably well aware right now, but
You would fit the cliche.
I have a Guinness sign right now that I'm pointing at. But apart from that,
Right, but I'm not a big drinker.
no, absolutely not. No, but yeah, look, I mean, it's always good to start off the year, I guess, fresh. Congratulations to yourself. You're starting your own little gig as well with the podcast. Congratulations on getting that off the ground as well. But yeah, mate, look,
Thank
it's
you. I appreciate that.
yeah, no, it's good. Look, I'm like I said, Irish originally. Been in Australia since 2011. Came here with kind of a bunch of mates, as you do. Just wanted to travel, and they all kind of left after about 6 months, and yeah, I'm still here. 13 or so years later. So yeah, it's been great. I've kind of loved since day one, since arriving in Melbourne. Actually, I was there for about 10 years. I live in Brisbane now, with where Swyftx, our company, is based. But yeah, initially landed in Melbourne and absolutely loved that place. And we yeah, spent a lot of time. I lived in kind of the Richmond, Prahran, St Kilda, as you do when you're Irish. But it was
Nice. No, that's good. I'm in Camberwell, and
yeah,
I'm a bit more out, but I like the little white picket fence,
yeah,
little quiet, leafy area. It's a good change for me.
yeah. Yeah, mate. Well, look, I've loved Melbourne. I always love getting back there. I have a lot of friends down there, so we definitely have to catch up the next time I'm heading down. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I guess a bit of quick kind of background into myself. I
Hmm.
definitely see myself as a bit of a old school head in a new school environment. I'm not a DJ. I know you like to do you like if you DJ plays yourself. I'm probably a little bit on the other side of that, but yeah, kind of growing up in Ireland. My mum was a detective. My dad worked in mechanical engineering, so I kind of had a pretty strong work ethic instilled in me pretty young, whether I liked it or not. And yeah, started working with like my uncle and my cousins when I was 9 and 10, trying to save some money, and started investing as soon as I was kind of legally allowed. My
Nice. What was the first investment? That's one of my favorite questions to ask.
I invested in Kerrygold, which is you might see they do like butter. They have butter in Australia and some
I
of
was
the
about to say, like the butter.
yeah, they're a massive brand in Ireland. And yeah, it was around the time I was probably actually lucky because it was around the time that the GFC had just happened in Ireland, so everything had tanked. Nobody had any money. I didn't have any either, but I would kind of saved my money as I was growing up and coming through like your odd jobs and things like that. But I always had a keen interest in kind of investing, and yeah, just they say timing is everything, Tom, right? Like, so the timing was just good. I didn't make a fortune or anything, but I guess it was the first, dip a toe in the water of investing. And
Hmm.
yeah, in terms of crypto itself, my cousin he is a lifer at Dell Computers, and it was actually him that told me about Bitcoin back in, I think it was 2011 or so, probably before I came out here. And
Ooh,
but I didn't have any.
2011. That's fresh.
I didn't get started in 2011. 2013, I ended up making my first investment, and yeah, man, it was like it was just so hard to get even money in at the time. Like, I'm talking about. I don't know if you're familiar with like Charlie Shrem and Bit Instant, which is like one of the first brokers ever
I've
created.
read about BitInstant, but I've never interacted with it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have. They got shut down in 2013. So yeah, long story short, we were doing some pretty weird things to try and get money into crypto at the time, and I actually got wrecked. I ended up buying a like $1,000 Bitcoin at the very start in 2013, and then it tanked. It did like 6,000% in 2013, and then tanked from like, I think it was $1,100 top market back down to like 250 US. So that was my initiation into crypto. And then yeah, like I was very lucky. Like I said to a few people, like it was like Neo in the Matrix with the bullets flying past. I managed to navigate Mount Gox, which obviously we all know about Mount Gox and what happened there, and uh,
Hmm.
and Cryptopia in New Zealand as well, which was like the shitcoin casino of the time. So yeah, feel like I've been through a few things kind of that not everyone would have been through in that kind of.
20, 2013 entry is definitely something that you can be pretty proud of
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of
Look,
like
it,
claiming market OG status. I feel like you can. What would this be? You're like a third, like a fourth cycler now. So
yeah, it's 3.5 coming up to 4 kind of
oof.
cycle. So yeah. Look, I'd love to say that I learned all the mistakes in the first one and didn't make any in the rest, but it's just one of those things that yeah, it's constantly evolving. The market narratives change every kind of cycle, but look, a lot of it, the whole fact that the 4-year cycle theory is still a thing, and it's still something that we're all talking about, and we talk about the Bitcoin halving and all, the narrative that kind of comes with that. I think it's yeah, it's pleasing to see there's some kind of correlation between cycles. Just the narrative generally changes, and generally people, we're starting to grow up more. The industry is starting to evolve. We obviously touched on the ETF and the positivity that brings to the market. I think something I was actually more excited about in Australia earlier on in 2023 was the AFSL regime. The fact that we, as crypto brokers and crypto exchanges, we're about to be regulated here in Australia. Probably, still 2 years away or so. But that for me was a bigger prize to businesses like Swyftx and all the other kind of exchange and models and brokers out there. So that was
Hmm.
that was obviously it's more focused on our business and the businesses themselves, but that's just it was such a great vilification, I guess. We've got this. We know we're working towards regulation now in Australia, which is an absolute um, for the crypto OGs or for the natives. They don't like it all that much, but realistically, if we want this industry to grow and thrive, into the future, we need regulation. It's all about consumer protection. That's obviously something that that's something that we we hold very, very highly, and something on the Swyftx side, but also just as an industry, we need to get better after the things of like FTX and Celsius and all these real
Yeah.
bullshit people.
And just because it runs counter to like the cypherpunk narrative doesn't mean that it's necessarily like an outright rejection of the entire industry. It's like if you want it to be part of a global, mature like asset class or belong to a larger, mature market, it has to succeed some kind of regulatory guidance to other people and be like, okay, listen. Um, uh, Speaking to the point of Swyftx, I am curious as to like what your day to day looks like over there. And we can have a little chat in a sec more about like the kind of stuff that you're noticing with retail, because that's something I'm really interested in talking about. But yeah, just wondering what it is that you do on your day to day.
Yeah. So look, I'll take it a quick step back. I actually joined Swyftx back in 2000 and the end of 2018 when they just launched the exchange. So Alex and Angus, two founders, and I was actually just a customer. I started chatting to Alex, who was doing the live chat at the time, Tom, which is it's a great story. I actually really like telling this one, but basically I was telling him all about the things that I'd learned, and you should do this, you should do that. This is shit. This needs to be better. What are you doing over here? That kind of a conversation, which is great. And Swyftx has always been customer first. Like we were the first exchange globally with live chat. Believe it or not, it was okay because it was easy at the time because we didn't have any customers. But nowadays we're at about 700,000 customers, and we've managed to scale that service out pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I ended up that's how I got my foot in the door with Swyftx, right? Like almost 4.5 years ago, and Alex, and Angus, they took a kind of a chance on me, and with my experience and everything we kind of discussed, offered me a job, and I kind of dropped everything in Melbourne about a year later and moved up to Brisbane, and we started really ramping things up and building out the company to what it is today. So in terms of my first role at the business was across business development. So we literally had to set up payment processing, like money in, money out, banking, liquidity provision, custody, all these things that just they hadn't been properly set up at the business yet. So really, really, really early days. We had an initial kind of the two founders, Alex and Angus, and then a kind of a founding team that was built around them and with different skill sets from like I said, business development, sales, marketing, like just all of customer support, all the things you need to, the building blocks of how you get things going. But yeah, I mean, that was the opportunity was there. A lot of other businesses started around the same time and didn't really do as well, at least as well as we did. But we really focused on that customer first, and the Aussie brand is really helpful as well, Tom. Like people do trust our brand. It's something that we've put a lot of time and money into between sporting sponsorships and just being out there with the community where not all of our competitors kind of put a lot of focus there. So my role today, I've worked across many areas of Swift. My role today is in product, so head of product strategy is my kind of official title at the moment. So my day today is anywhere from workshopping new products that we can do or we could do or that we want to do, from working with teams. We have a team of 6 people across the product team, and then indirectly like 40 engineers that we work with. So it's pretty full on. It's a fast moving beast. I do think Australia suffers quite a bit in terms of we are quite like we're at a bit of a loss to the international exchanges at times because they can do whatever they want in this market largely, or they have for a long time. And being an Aussie first business, you are kind of slightly handicapped because you just can't do the things that they want. And from a product perspective, at least, there is, it's not everything is on an even keel, I guess. And something that we've learned over the last 6 to 12 months is 90% of the value traded in Australia goes offshore, which is really, it's great in terms of the opportunity itself, as in there's a huge opportunity to capture that for us and other businesses. But the reality is all of the Aussie dollars are going offshore into, overseas exchanges that want to access products that we just can't safely and confidently launch in this market at the time. So yeah, that's a little bit disappointing, but we know that, the right things are happening to get us there in a safe way. It's just, I guess, taking that bit longer.
Okay. So 90% of the money is heading offshore. Damn. So is that like as in 90% of like new inflows or
Yeah, it's generally like new money entering, right? So a lot of the Aussie businesses are just being used as ramps to get access to, the lifeblood of trading is like your USDT or your USDC assets. That's where a lot of the value goes, and it's, yeah, unfortunately for a lot of people, they don't really know what they're doing a lot of the time, and can, lose funds. So that's something that
Mm.
we scrutinize quite heavily, and some people like it, some people don't. Is just the finality of crypto transactions and the immutable nature of um, in which they work. Just means that it's not like the bank that you can go and recall a $10,000 tether transaction, or sending Bitcoin off to an exchange to trade. It's some pretty hard cases that
Oh
we've
yeah.
seen, but
I've
yeah,
I've felt my fair share of stings on the finality of crypto.
yeah,
Sent a couple $100 to like an exchange on the wrong chain once. Sent it on Matic instead of ERC20, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
there goes that. It's just like great. It's stuck.
yeah,
Very small exchange, but yeah, no.
yeah. It's
So do
just
you think it's like 90% of volumes are heading out so that they can kind of do you think it's degenning? Like, is it heading so that they can go to like leveraged products where it's like, oh, I'm going to go try my hand
yes,
at 10xing the next meme coin? And it's like, guys,
pretty much.
strongly do not recommend.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the products that we don't have readily available, I guess, within Australia. That's bound by Australian consumer laws, and the same type of that are put through the same type of scrutiny as businesses like ours are. So yeah, it's a pretty frightening stat, isn't it, Tom? Like when you think about it, that there's so much value
I
going
didn't
offshore.
expect it to be 90.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess, yeah. Again, that speaks to the opportunity for me. Like there's a huge opportunity for us to fix that problem, right? Or address that problem, and that's definitely what I guess I'm here to do, and what Swyftx is here to do. We're definitely trying to get closer to those products, and do it in the right way in a safe environment that protects users. And I'm not going to sales pitch you Swyftx here, but I mean we've definitely known for being one of the players that are trying to do things right, and um, moving. I would say moving at a medium pace. We're not moving slowly, we're not moving quickly, but more at a medium pace to try and get these things to market. But there is no lack of
I think
demand.
that's wise. Yeah. No, 100%. And I mean, with SwiftX, outside of 90% of like new inflows going offshore, which is wild. What are the other main kind of retail things that you're seeing on your end? Like, what do you have any data on like recent trends as to what the market's been doing, particularly in the last couple of months? Because I live in my own little silo
Yeah,
on Twitter where I like kind of absorb my narratives, and I'm like, oh yes, this is what's happening in the market, and then you zoom out and you're like, oh, I'm looking at about maybe 0.5% of what's going on.
yeah. Look, and I'd love to tell you that I'm across it. I don't think anyone is fully across everything that happens in crypto. It's impossible. But yeah, look, from our perspective, volumes have been continuing to grow from the start of 2023. Volumes have just been going up and to the right, with a kind of a couple of lull periods along the way. I think trading volume spiked, and in the fake ETF news that you were busy covering, Tom, trading volume spiked about 2,500% in that window of just like as an example, like literally, it just looks like skyscrapers on the charts. But
Yeah.
the sentiment overall, people forget, retail forget very quickly where we came from. So the like Bitcoin as the ETF news has been in market now since May, June of last year. The assets grown from like 20,000 US up to, the ETF launched at 46, 47, even 48 US. So people forget that very quickly. They're like, oh, the ETF was a failure. It's like, it absolutely wasn't a failure. We've seen the biggest net inflows into an ETF in history went into the range of Bitcoin ETFs from Fidelity, BlackRock. Those 11 of them, I think, in total or something like that. Tom, you probably have a
Yeah.
better idea.
10. Hashtags tried, and they bungled their
Right.
S1 application, so they didn't get through the door. So,
There
but they
was
threw a
11,
party
there was 11.
in New York. Yes, there was 11 filers, and then only 10 got through on the actual day for trading. I think hashtags will be in a couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, look, yeah, overall, it's massively bullish. The sentiment is great for the space overall. Where the market's at right now, we're teetering on the edge at the moment. I think that a lot of people are still expecting an explosive move to 50K Bitcoin that'll, likely bring everything with it. We are due for a correction. We're due for a correction into the Bitcoin halving. And I think that's probably the most likely scenario from where we're at right now. I obviously speak about Bitcoin quite a bit, Tom, because that drives most of the market sentiment. Not always the case. Altcoins have had their own kind of run up. We've seen AI at the start of 2023. We've seen meme coins have a run. We've seen Solana and everything around that ecosystem have its day. I guess one of the main things that I'm watching, and I know you're probably going to ask me this later on. Anyway, one of the main things for me is like, right, the Bitcoin ETF is now done. People have, bought the rumor and sold the news. What's the next thing, right? And, ETH spiked on the rumor. It spiked on the fake launch, which gave us a little bit of a show us your poker cards on what the market was going to do. And yeah, it's really been, for me, we do get an ETH ETF approved in 2024. I don't think it's going to be easy. It'll take time. I think there'll be some rejections, there'll be pushback, but I do think we get that in 2024, which is obviously people are. I think retail have started to look at it, but I don't think we have the same type of intensity on it as I would have expected, given kind of, think about the precedent that's been set. Grayscale won the case against the SEC for the GBTC trust. They got that converted. It's now a spot Bitcoin ETF. They the same thing with their Ethereum ETF, the ETH ETF that they have. So the same precedent has been set now. You can argue that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not in the same, created equally, or not in the same vein, and that is true in terms of how they work. But I do think that will get through, and it's going to be a pretty exciting year if we see, the two top cryptos with the most value locked kind of, essentially accepted
gradually
by Wall Street.
Yeah.
Accepted, you can invest in Ethereum in your 401k. If you're in the US, you can get exposure. All these people that could never get exposure before can now get exposure through different vehicles. Are me and you going to ever use them? Probably not. We don't care about them. They're not. We know how to do it on our own, but like, there's so many people that just don't, and I think that's something that I think retail is sleeping on at the moment, and they will wake up to it. But maybe we got the inside scoop and we can get ahead of it, Tom. But yeah, look, it's Ethereum is almost a better Bitcoin Max. Probably going to start sending me messages to shoot, on Twitter now.
Don't worry, I live to provoke laser eyes, so this is good.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the Ethereum is almost a better. It's a naturally occurring interest model as well, because you have proof of stake, so you have that 3 to 5.5% kind of return baked in as like dividends, if you want to call them that. Then obviously not dividends, it's proof of stake rewards, on-chain rewards, but it has a naturally occurring dividend that kind of comes with it, which is really,
it has that appeal. I'm marketing it to a fund of like, hey, you get your 4% with this if you buy it, and that's enticing.
It's almost, like, it's easy for people to even, companies like that to charge maybe higher fees on Ethereum, because they're also providing the proof of stake service and, all of the bells and whistles that come with that. So that, that's a product that I think will be in large demand when, or say when it comes to the market, not if, in my opinion. I could be beautifully wrong on that, but I still think if we don't get it this year, that we do get it, pretty early in 2025.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's consistent with like a lot of the narratives that I've seen just through my own kind of circles, is that the next attention is going to be placed firmly on Ethereum.
Yep.
And looking at Ethereum in 2023, it's like, it was the most hated coin because it didn't do anything. It's because there was no attention. So do you think would it be reasonable to assume that ETH cops a very similar kind of, attention grab and residual price move that Bitcoin did as a result of just having that catalyst now? Um, Following, because I mean, I was reading something today. I think it was an analyst speaking to the block from JP Morgan, and he was essentially saying like 50% chance by May.
Yeah.
He said essentially there's going to be pushbacks, and I know that there was SEC commentary somewhere today that was talking about, oh well, we're not sure if the tokens themselves are securities, and so there's that kind of hinting at classifying it as a commodity, similar to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Um,
I think even if you listen to Gary Gensler, who, it's quite ironic that it was his vote that ended up, swinging the ETF's approval in the end, whether if it was, forced hand or not. And look, I think the SEC obviously get bashed quite a lot. I think they've got a pretty tough job to do as well. Like, it's not easy, but I think they don't. I don't think they. I think there's things they could do differently that would change some of the perception of the brand of the SEC and everything else that they do. But they got a pretty tough job to do. As a government agency, can you think of another organization where every single country in the world knows the chairman, the leader, and the people that are involved in the committee? Like, it's quite bizarre to think about. We're here in Australia talking about a government body like them in the US, which is and everyone knows the name of Gary Gensler. Like, we were joking on LinkedIn about the Netflix documentary. When is the Netflix documentary going to come out? That the fake tweet stuff has added another
Gensler.
chapter
Yeah.
to the documentary. And I don't even think that's a joke. I think we see that at some stage. But let's see. Maybe
I mean, it is fascinating that the world is that kind of entranced by American markets, that everyone follows that intensely, that it's like, what regulations are they putting through? What do they say? And then we'll make our guidelines and our judgments about what to do with these things.
I actually have a good stat for you, Tom, which I don't know. It's the stat that nobody cares about, but it's, we have had beta shares have had an Australian ETF kind of, which is CRYP, which is,
I remember that.
Yeah, it's been in the market for quite a while, and it was actually the best performing ETF in Australia in 2023. Like, it obviously got a lot of its traction towards the end of the year, but it ended up with being the top ETF with 214.5% rise on the year, which is pretty decent.
You don't get that in an ETF
No,
usually.
no, you definitely don't get that usually in ETF. And the second prize was actually another Bitcoin ETF that I think did 150% or something like that. So obviously, again, like I said, the stat that nobody really cares about, but we obviously focus on the American market because that's what moves the needle. But yeah, it was interesting to see. That was a stat that I found earlier on this morning, which I thought was quite interesting for the
No, that's fascinating. What kind of things does Crip hold if it can't hold like the actual securities? Is it more like crypto adjacent stocks? Is it just
Yes,
holding Coinbase, Master, Marathon? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like that, that micro coins ARK invest type of scenario. Yeah. So
Man, you would have been well rewarded if you bought MicroStrategy instead of Big. Like, it's actually incredible the level to which
yeah,
MicroStrategy gained last year. I was doing some like final review numbers on it, and I was like 800 and something percent
yeah.
in 2023. I was like, oh, I've been buying the wrong stuff. I should have been on the stock market. Jesus.
And Sailor will just turn around and create a buyback scheme where you can get access to that capital
Yep.
and buy more Bitcoin. It's a
He did that recently, actually. He's literally liquidating, I think it's 5,000 master shares every day. And he's saying it's for personal financial obligations and to buy more Bitcoin, which is, kind of what we'd expect.
yeah.
It does scare me a little bit that Michael Saylor might, if crypto is successful in, the long run, that Michael Saylor will be possibly the richest man on earth. I'm
Yeah,
like, uh-oh. Ah,
yeah. I mean, look, it's some of the yeah, some of the predictions are obviously huge. Like even Kathy Wood from Ark Invest talks about the
oh,
the bear case being $750,000 US Bitcoin, right? That's the bear case, and the bull case is 2.5 mil or something like that. But like, I mean, the truth lies somewhere in the middle for me. I do, I'm not making crystal ball bull calls here, but like I think the fixed supply, the fact that demand is increasing, people involved in the market's increasing, we're getting regular, like all the things are pointing there's a lot of metrics pointing in the direction of demand increasing at least. And we know about supply and demand when you have a fixed asset, right? So that's
yep.
people generally, dip the toe in the water with Bitcoin or kind of ETH these days. And then, there's always a knock on effect to the other assets when people are starting to look elsewhere for big gains and all these things. We see those types of behaviors play out every single time. That doesn't change. We see that on the Swyftx side as well. I mean, we list 350 or so assets now, so you just have people have a range of different strategies. We kind of create dollar cost average tools like auto investing and recurring orders and these things that give people kind of the tools to get in and set and forget, which is always a great strategy. One I've always used, whether it was
Mm,
wages going to a term deposit account like that vanilla, or investing in Tesla stocks or something like that. Like it's always a strategy that's going to serve you over time if you have the patience. But most retail people don't have the patience to actually stay the course and do that. Even 3 to 5 years, which is interesting. On the flip side of
mm,
all that, I do think we have to be careful on what products spin out of like that approval. Like what are the products that will um, leverage the sentiment and suck people in that won't be legitimate. Like we see a lot of stocks and equities that pop up in businesses that are just not good businesses and fail and take a lot of capital with them. So yeah, it's like anything else. I think it's I'm cautiously optimistic about where everything is going, but cautious being the operative word there, Tom.
yep. Yeah, no, 100%. Outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, what do you see as the kind of main trends moving into this year?
Yeah, look, I've always been a big fan of anything infrastructure based. So I'm looking at GameFi infrastructure. Obviously, we've got our probably one of the strongest players in the market. Incepted in Australia with Immutable. We've got the likes of Illuvium as well, which is obviously a direct project gaming, but they're doing a lot of different things across that AAA rated gaming space. The gaming market, take crypto out of it. The gaming market is a multi-billion-dollar industry of its own right. Without crypto, I think the crypto the utility that crypto brings, and bringing that, mashing the two worlds together, can create almost a new industry in itself, or a new financial market in itself. And like gaming is not slowing down; it's only going up and to the right for over the last since I was born, and since I had my first Sega Mega Drive 16-bit. Tom, I don't know if you've ever had one of those, but it's been a
No, I got started on PlayStation 1.
oh yeah,
Um,
big gray one,
the little gray box. Yeah, yeah. That
gray one.
was the first.
Yeah. So I was a few years before that, but look, it's an industry that is just going to continue to grow, and I think the value that tokenization and monetization across gaming that blockchain can bring is, I think we don't know what we don't know. I think it's going to be huge. Again,
Mm,
not everyone's going to win. There'll be some strong players. Anything infrastructure as well, I guess, to go back to that topic. Um, some pretty impressive layer ones popping up over the last, 6 months or so. Or seen like Sui and Say. There are two kind of layer ones that have popped up. The L2 scaling solutions across Ethereum, Optimism, Arbitrum. Medic has had a really tough year. It hasn't really done much for the
it's
price. I don't know if
been-
you've been watching that one. Um,
yeah, Matic's a tough token. That doesn't get much love.
I know that they do have a rebranding event or like a recapitalization event happening in the next at some stage this year, which might turn the tide. But I guess it's probably one of those ones that we might look back in this podcast and say, shit, we should have bought Matic when we were talking about it being so sleepy or so quiet on the podcast back in Jan. It's kind of one of those scenarios, I think. But yeah, look, like I said, anything infrastructure based for me is always going to be strong plays. There will be new narratives that pop up. 2023, we saw the AI kind of narrative jump out. Solana is on the top of everyone's mind at the moment, and the whole ecosystem around Solana. So yeah, there's
Solana's
a lot of opportunity.
There's a case to be made for, I mean, especially the next couple of weeks. The new kind of, it's like an aggregated DEX called Jupiter is doing, I think the perps are trading at like 80 cents OTC at the moment, and they're about to drop what probably could be around about like $1 billion in liquidity on Solana. They said week 4 of January. So I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that there could be kind of, it depends how well Solana performs as well in the next couple of weeks. Like if it doesn't move, then I mean, if it moves at the same time as there's an airdrop, then Jesus, like Lord save us.
All hell same time.
Yeah, Solana wins for the time being, and all the Solana guys can piss off the Ethereum maxis as per usual. But yeah, no, that's interesting, particularly
it's done what 400% or 350% this year, right? Solana, something like that. So
yeah, I was at a dinner with a friend who is a Solana maxi. This was in August, and he was like, "Yeah, I just sold all of my ETH for Solana," and was really like not like pushing it on us, but was like, "Oh, I would seriously recommend checking it out." And at that time, I was like, "Oh, the FTX estate is going to sell, and it's a dead chain, whatever." And then just sat and watched it just climb. It was well over 500%. It was like 1950 or something in June.
Yeah.
And then 115 on Boxing Day, and I was like, man, rough.
Yeah, a couple of the I know a couple of the guys at Swyftx have always been kind of long Solana and Solana bulls, and I think that whole narrative around FTX was one that probably scared me a little bit as well. I'll be honest, but yeah, it was. I mean, we've seen obviously a massive sell off around the time of FTX collapsing. There was a lot of tokens kind of went down with it, but not, they didn't. But they're all there. They're all still there to be utilized at some point. But yeah, that's another story in itself. FTX and everything that happens around that.
I know we're running kind of close to time for you, and so I did just kind of want to finish up with one more. I was going to talk about real world asset tokenization, but then I was like, Jesus, that's a bit boring to finish this up on. So I thought I'd ask, from your perspective, like, working like heavily engaged on the more retail side of crypto, building products for people that are coming into crypto, what do you see as like the number one thing that retail or just everyday people still misunderstand about digital assets in general?
I think, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding. I think it's probably an education piece. The whole custody of assets, I think, needs to come a long way when we speak about crypto brokers and exchanges, Tom. Like, we can't assume that the next 10 million people that come into crypto are going to be holding their own private keys and setting up ledger wallets and setting up all these wallets, right? I think it's probably one of the biggest problems to solve for the industry. It's not the sexiest one, and it's not the one that's going to make your business the most money, but it is one of the biggest problems to solve. I think inherently it could be a big revenue driver if you solve it in the right way. But it's just too hard at the moment. Like the whole transferring of assets is just, you really need to have your head screwed on to do it right. I mean, you already talked about sending assets on wrong chains and things like that. I mean, and look, I've done that as well, and I've been sending assets across chains for years. But like we can all do it, and we get a bit complacent from time to time. But it's I think it's one of the biggest problems to solve, that whole custody piece. How we manage like customers. We can't say to customers that your best option is withdrawing it back to your own wallet. Again, on the flip side of that, I will be doing that. I love doing it. I love custodying my own assets and having my own private keys. But that's like I'm in the 2% or 1% of people that actually should do it and can do it, right? So I see that number, growing but quite stagnant in relation in correlation to the amount of people coming into crypto. So I think that's a huge problem to solve for the market. And I mean that can be solved through the product side, through the onboarding side. Like there's heaps of ways I think it can be solved. Insurance regulations obviously coming for the exchanges in Australia, which we're really bullish on and really keen to be one of the first players getting that kind of sorted. I guess on our side, it's going to be a very costly period of time for a lot of businesses. Not everyone is going to, in my opinion at least, not everyone can afford to be regulated. Cost of compliance, cost of running a business is just too high for everyone to be able to do it. And we have so many crypto businesses in Australia that are trying to kind of do the same thing and do the right thing. So huge opportunity in consolidation there. Slight tangent, but going back to kind of
No.
the customers themselves, Tom. I mean, like I talked about the amount of value leaving shore, like all of those products that they want access to should be available from a trusted crypto business in Australia, right? So we simply just can't take the risk. We can't really do it right now in the current regulatory framework. So I guess we're hoping to work towards what those products look like, onshore and just keeping more of that 90% value onshore as we look to the future. But I think another piece is people want access to as many markets as possible. Some of the true exchanges in Australia only trade maybe 20, 30 tokens. So, if you're a client of one of those platforms, and they're great platforms, and not, speaking illy of any of those guys, run great businesses. But, your customer has to go somewhere else then. So, you want to complete as much of the customer journey as possible. For us, it's all about variety. We don't make the decisions on you should trade this or you should trade that. We don't give financial advice, but we want to give people as many options to make their own decisions and couple that with education as they move along, couple that with security across the platform. I know Tom, our head of PR, was speaking to you before.
The other Tom. The three Toms.
Or about our, we have campaigns running previously around uplifting two-factor authentication and multi-factor authentication across the platforms, and we give people $10 worth of Bitcoin to go and set up their MFA on Swyftx, which is kind of a bit of a promotion that was running. The SEC obviously in the US didn't do that.
The SEC could,
so that's relevant.
Maybe you could give them $20 worth of Bitcoin to set up 2FA on their Twitter account. Like, guys.
Yeah, maybe.
It's important. Come on.
It's a thing. It could be a thing. It could be we might have to make an NFT out of it or something. I don't know.
There you go. Just send it to Gary.
Yeah, that's right. Get his Ethereum address and just drop it in there.
Gary's MetaMask. I wonder if it exists. I reckon he was talking about Algorand in 2018. He'd have a MetaMask. There would be one.
Yeah, it's hard with those because they'd have to, technically they have to disclose everything as they move into power, and are not. I don't think they're allowed to invest in any assets, like be it.
I wouldn't even say that he has any tokens on it, but I just imagine there's a Fox icon in a browser somewhere, just like, wonder what this is. I need to learn. It's empty, but it exists, and there's a 24-digit number, and whoever figures it out and airdrops it, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, under the new crypto tax regs, if you were to find it and you were to put 10K under it, then he'd have to report it legally. So there we go. Mission impossible, literally impossible. But
we might have to wait. We might have to wait for the Netflix documentary for that one, Tom.
Oh, true. I like that. That's the big prediction of this. Of like, there will be a Gary Gensler Netflix show. Just when.
I like that you've already kind of given it a title as well. It's just Gensler, just on the screen, Gensler. I can almost already see
in the really big, in like that kind of really big, like imperial font, like bam.
Yeah.
A House of Cardsy kind of vibe where you have the flag rippling in the background. Very dramatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
Yeah, no. That'll be great. Gensler doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I believe that's kind of it for you on your end in terms of time. Unless we still got room to run.
I got a couple of minutes, Matt. Yeah, we can keep running if you want.
Okay, cool. I mean, just for
You said
couple
you,
minutes just to.
yeah, you said you might have had a few more questions that you wanted to run through, but yeah, happy to
I
chat.
was interested in kind of like um, of the like 300 because you're saying you got 380 tokens that you run on Swyftx.
350 or something like that, I think. Yeah.
350. Okay. Of those, outside of majors, what's retail been? And I know I asked before about like the main trends that retail's been interested in, but if there have been anything that kind of really piques your interest in terms of activity from Australian markets that's maybe different to stuff that you've seen elsewhere?
Not really. I mean, yeah, if I'm honest, not really, Tom. The general market sentiment follows, trends. It's
Yep.
the same for us. If someone's on a Solana trend, they'll be trading Solana on Swyftx, and they'll be trading tokens within the Solana ecosystem. Same with Ethereum or anything else. I think for us, if Ethereum is the narrative and you have 10 more tokens that are tied to the Ethereum narrative, like Ethereum Classic as an example, Rocket Pool, Lido, these kind of assets that are on the fringes, not directly correlated, but have a connection. That's what I guess that is a trend that we always see on the exchange. People will always look for that next thing that hasn't gone yet that is connected to that narrative. And same for the kind of meme coins when people are trading those.
Yeah, people looking for the beta play of like I'll make a
Exactly.
1000x
Yeah.
trading the thing that's on the thing,
Yeah.
not the yeah.
I'm not going to trade Ethereum. I'm going to trade something else down the line, and that's going to be my winner. So yeah, I mean
In my
we see
yeah,
that.
in my own personal experience, it's very much been if I just held the underlying instead of chasing beta, I would be in a much better spot. So that's my 2 cents on how to approach it.
It always comes down to time horizons. Like it depends what type of investor you have. Everyone has a different reason for investing. Everyone has a different strategy or no strategy at all at times. Like it really comes back to what the underlying purpose of that investment is for people. Sometimes, like genuinely, some people just want to go in and put $100 on. They want to make $1,000, and then they're gone, right? And that happens quite a bit. Something that we track very closely is customer success. So, um, how many people are winning versus how many people are losing? What are the trends that what
That's
are
fascinating. What is customer success rate like? Like at the moment, do you have any like figures on the last couple of
I don't
months, or
have
is
any,
it just
I
a
don't have,
general?
yeah, I don't have any figures right now. Over the last 12 months, I mean, it's well over 60%, I would say. But again, it's on a longer term time horizon. It's much higher than that. In a bear market, it's much lower than that. So it's not. I mean, yeah. I can't get too scientific on it, but it really does. We're so correlated to the market cycles. I would say that a lot of people get revived. We do have this mentality. I think it's across the industry of I will hold till I die kind of thing. You know what I mean? I will hold on for dear life, and a lot of people, whether that's the right strategy, it is for some people and it isn't for others. Whether that's the right strategy or not, it's a strategy, I guess. So a lot of people that were largely underwater for 2022, even a lot of 2023 or half of 23 are now back in profit. Something that I've been watching pretty closely on the product side is, and the customer side is, the amount of existing customers that just hadn't logged in for 12 months that are back is really pleasing, right? Because for a couple of reasons, it's great that there's interest back in the market. Like from a business perspective, we've already spent the money to acquire that customer, so it's like a new customer without spending the customer acquisition costs or having to go into that. So for us, it's probably the most pleasing one to see, and reactivation of customers that have been on the platform previously that are kind of coming back to us for one reason or another. We know in this industry, loyalty is few and far between when it comes to loyalties across exchanges. Most people have two or three or four, or I think I've got probably 15 different exchange accounts for different reasons, like between
Yep.
dexes, swap places to swap, and depending what you're doing, right? Everyone, I think it's pleasing for us to see that. A lot of our customers are kind of coming back, even if they've been dormant for a long time. So, yeah.
Mm. probably kicked off by getting that notification. I remember seeing something that was like Dogecoin up 10%. Someone said like this is the bad signal. Like this is the this is what caused it again. No,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
we have a famous day in the history books at Swyftx. We call it DOGE Friday. It's where Doge ripped 870% in a day. I don't know if you can remember that back in 2019, I believe. And yeah, it was absolute
Yeah.
chaos.
Yep. I remember that well.
We were actually the only exchanges at the time that stood up. I think a few of the other providers around us went offline, like there's just too much load on the system. I think we onboarded about 9,000 customers in a day, like in that one
Damn.
day, which was absolutely, yeah, it was insane at the time. And we still talk about it, you know, every now and then over a beer or whatever. Like, you know, it's good to look back and look forward, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's
Yep.
something that was just an interesting one in the kind of history books that we still talk about. Yeah, what's going to be
That's
the next
insane. I remember Doge.
one?
I remember that one very, very well. I was literally in the car park. I bought some Doge off friends, like just telling me about it. This is well before I even remotely knew anything about crypto. I think it's one of the first things I ever touched. And I just treated it like a gamble and was like, oh, that was incredible. But yeah, I literally bought some, went for a surf. And this is like when I was like living in my van, like just kind of trekking around. And I came back to the van and opened, I believe it was, and this is crazy. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was my Swyftx app. And I was like,
Love that.
what? What?
Big tick, big,
uh,
big tick.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So no,
Like
I could
800.
have been a part of your Doge Friday. Yeah.
That's good. Well, I'm glad that our platform was able to stay up and everyone was happy, and a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people made money that day, which is good. I hope we have many more similar events throughout our history.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Anyway, mate, thanks so much for your time. It was really good speaking with you today. You've shared a lot of really interesting stuff. That was great.
No, likewise, Matt. And again, I mean, we're on number 2 podcast for you, and you've got a long way to go and a long journey. And yeah, congratulations on the launch. And yeah, I hope it goes really well. And yeah, hopefully we can do some more collabs across the journey. I'm sure we will.
That'd be great. Looking forward to number 2 episode, but in a little while. That'd be great.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I've no, set in stone plan for it. It's just kind of an episode a week,
Yeah.
forever, essentially, as long as possible. If crypto is still standing in a couple of years, I plan to be here. So yeah,
Good stuff, Tom.
man,
Thanks
thank
so
you
much.
very much for your time.
Soon.